everyone. My name is Christina Gilligan, and I'm a PhD candidate in the English department. I want to begin by again thanking Amanda and everyone at the Cogut for putting on this event and also for hosting me as a fellow. As a Cogut fellow, I'm continuing my work on my dissertation titled Readerly Identification in the Realist Novel from Austen to Hardy. What I find so exciting about the group of 19th century British novelists on whom I focus, specifically Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, George Eliot, and Thomas Hardy, is that they grapple seriously with the social, political, and ethical issues of this moment of great change, not only within their individual novels, but also across their novelistic careers. That is, they continue to revisit and revise both their commitments and the ways in which these commitments are bodied forth in their work. My project in particular analyzes the ways in which identification is invited or resisted by the formal features, narration, character, plotting of these novels, and how that identification or lack thereof is then put to work in furtherance of the novelist's critical project or projects. So what is identification and how does it differ from something like sympathy? Identification involves a sustained blurring of the boundary between reader and a character or perhaps a narrator. Identification differs from sympathy both in its absorptiveness and its durationality. So for instance, in speaking of sympathy, we might say we felt for such and such character in a specific scene or at a specific moment. However, in speaking of identification, we make no such qualification. We say, to take a contemporary example, that we are a Carrie or a Miranda. In past critical work, identification has been, on the one hand, derided as the activity of the amateur reader. The professional reader must always maintain the kind of critical distance that identification obliterates. And on the other hand, praise is a site of particularly feminist readerly pleasure. Notably, both of these critical positions treat identification as fully within the purview of the reader. The text is imagined to play little or no role. Yet novels themselves invite readers to identify in all sorts of ways, from first-person narration to an emphasis of the universal or general experience over specificity. Indeed, while some works, like to return to our earlier example of Sex and the City, or in my own work, Middlemarch, leave the identificatory field quite open, that is, one could plausibly be a Carrie or a Charlotte, a Dorothea Brooke or a Mary Garth, others do not. For instance, we might think of the near imperative to identify with Jane in Jane Eyre on the one hand, and on the other, the near impossibility of entering into a sustained identificatory relationship with any character in Thomas Hardy's The Woodlanders, where the characters court not our identification, but our ambivalence. As we can hear from even these short examples, identification in the Victorian novel is taken up quite differently from novel to novel, and even within the same novelist's body of work. What my project is interested in then is not only the extent to which the projects of the 19th century British novels are bodied forth through readerly identification, but also the risks and opportunities of reliance on identificatory strategies. What kind of socio-political and ethical projects are made possible by identification and which are barred by them? Are there more and less ethical ways to invite identification? And what is the cost in ethical, political, and aesthetic terms of the insistence on similarity over difference, which identification so often involves? My hope for the project is that the answers to these questions in the context of the 19th century novel will inform our understanding of what is at stake in contemporary debates over identity politics, representation, and social change. Thank you.